So you guys have asked some questions on YouTube and Instagram. We're gonna answer those.
Could hire 20 more guys right now if we could find them, but
When's the right time to start your own business?
the most serious injuries we've ever had is we spend very little on marketing.
Hardest part of business and most rewarding part of business is the same.
There's lots of things that I would do differently. Insane gross profit. What they make may be complete garbage. Swing through here.
Well, just go up the top.
Back in here. A week before we go to court, they said, "Come on, just go pick this thing up."
Yeah.
They're worried about getting fried. Let me go sign this paperwork. Must be not tire blue.
Yeah. Your sign there, that's just saying that you're getting back the Caterpillar 317 GC excavator, and that's the serial.
All right.
Did you talk to your attorney yesterday?
I did. He was real short. He was in the middle of something. He just said, "Go get it." Yeah, we got court next week, so we'll see what happens. I guess.
Well, with it being expired, I don't know what they'll do. I really don't. This is.
Yeah, it's all new, right? This doesn't happen to me often.
Well, no, this is only the second time I've ever levied on anything.
We're gonna get to it, so I appreciate
All right,
it.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, man.
Y'all take care.
Just like the dozer, we'll buy them on the tracks.
Okay, all right, gotcha. The short chain up by the front, I'm going to use the longer chain on the back. I'll get that wheel, unless you need me to do something else, I can get that wheel buzzed off and take it to Marion Tire after we get back.
Call Vince. There's really a couple loads of logs and maybe one more load of brush up there.
Okay.
So we might need to do that and we can just leave the trailer. Maybe we'll just drop the trailer at Marion Tire, let them change it while we do that. You run a load of logs down, by the time you get down, new tire will be on. Hey, just ease it back to the shop.
Yeah, I will.
It ain't bad when it's working, but to pay it and it sits doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Call me if you need me.
I'll see you.
Thank you, Bo. All right, you guys keep asking about our 317 that the Sheriff's Department took, and as you can see, we got her back. We are at the shop. We are ready to put it to work, and we have now made 2 payments while it just sat. And unfortunately, we can't tell you a whole lot about what's going on with the 317, but you can see we have it back. We are still going to court for it, so I was told the other day in court that anything I say on YouTube can be held against me in a court of law after our video was played in court for everybody to hear. So we're not gonna tell you a whole lot about that part of it, but hopefully very soon we can. So someone wants to know when it's time to replace the John Deere 50G mini excavator, what we will replace that with, because we use it so often. And that's true, that machine is hardly ever back at the shop. It is the ultimate Swiss Army knife to have in your tool belt. If this service was great, I'd just say we'd just replace it with exactly what we have, because it's a phenomenal machine. You know, you guys might have seen that we have a Cat 308 now, which is pretty comparable in size. It's a little bit heavier. We can't move it around on, you know, single axle trucks. We move it around on behind a dump truck, so it's a little bit larger for some small stuff, but that's a great machine so far, and it's a good size. It's a little bit heavier than the 50, so I don't know. I mean, we're very, very happy with Cat's service right now. So even if the machine, some of the features aren't exactly what we love or used to, the service makes up for it. So it'd probably be a Cat machine. What's the number one thing that really built the business a little bit faster? What picked it up and got it going a little bit? And if I have to say one thing, I would just say consistency. And what I mean by that is just showing up and working every single day and doing your best and trying to exceed expectations with customers and being sure that, you know, you're making someone happy every single day with the service that you provide, and getting in front of new people every single day, shaking hands and handing out business cards and stuff like that, you know, just what it takes to run a business every day. I think early on, a lot of folks, they think about getting into business and they think, well, you know, I want to get into business because it brings me more money that I get to put in my pocket. I get more time by myself. I get to create my own calendar and my own schedule and go on as many vacations as I want. And I would say that most people that have that mindset that are going to get into business for all those quote unquote advantages are not going to be in business for long at all. You really got to know that starting your business, you have to sacrifice a lot of stuff. There's times that you don't get to go on vacation, and maybe, you know, you send your family because they shouldn't have to sacrifice at the same time. They go on vacation while you stay home and work, or you know, your friends are out on the 4th of July weekend and you're having to work, or whatever, you know. But just showing up over a period of time until you're well established and you have built a solid brand and you do have lots of leads coming in and you do have plenty of capital in the account, that's the number one thing that I think that people miss. And everyone's always looking for the gold nugget or the golden lead generation service or whatever, but none of that exists. So give up on that fairy tale and just know that you got to show up every day and work your ass off. Mud a tire. I'm giving up my race shop to create a meeting space because we're currently on hold on a remodel for a meeting space. So it's important we have weekly meetings. So I'm converting this space to a room that we're going to meet in at least weekly, maybe daily. So you guys have asked some questions on YouTube and Instagram, and while we rearrange all of this stuff, we're going to answer those. These questions are so difficult because you don't have context of who the guy is or what he does or if he's got a family, you know. But if you're asking if you're currently an operator working for someone and you're thinking about starting your own business, when's the right time to start your own business? I don't think that anyone should just go start their own business without having a book of business already, like without having done some work for yourself and have some kind of lead flow. And to do that, you got to kind of start doing work on the side. Most bosses don't like for you to do that, so it's a little bit tricky. You can either do that and get some lead flow in, or you just make the switch one day of working for someone to working for yourself, and that's very difficult to do unless you can start working for friends or family. But a lot of risk involved in that. And so like if you've got a family that's relying on you to produce money every single day, then you got to really be careful. If you're just a young dude who, you know, doesn't have a family that's relying on you, then you can lean into some hustle and your work ethic and go drive some leads and get some work in and produce work fast to get some money coming in. Then it's not that big of a deal. So you got to kind of use your own discretion on when that time is right for you. If you have never performed a job and someone's asking for a price on it, I think it's always best just to be transparent. And if you want to learn how to do that type of job, you just need to know it's probably going to cost you money. It's just like going to college. You are paying for education. And it should never cost the customer money for you to learn how to perform a job. So don't try to pass the cost off onto a customer. Now you can be transparent with a customer and say, hey, I've never done this before, and for us to do it, we're going to be a little bit slower. It may cost you a little more than someone who does this all day, every day. I don't think that on your first job doing dirt work, you should be nervous. If you're nervous, you probably should have more experience before you're in that position. If you're asking how to get a job operating equipment, I'm assuming you don't have experience and you need to start as a laborer. You could be the best operator in the world, but if you don't know how to perform a job, then someone who actually is worse on a machine is more valuable than the guy who knows how to operate really well but can't perform the job. So we always recommend starting as a laborer, learning everything about how to perform the job, and then learn the operation skills. Look at me trying to tell Ethan. I don't care what position we're hiring for. I almost care absolutely nothing about education that you can get from school. I would rather have someone have 1 year of real world experience than 10 years of education in school. Because school teaches you theory, real world teaches you what's actually going to happen when it's in front of your face. Actually shit, don't it? business can only grow as large as you have enough talent to grow it. And so would I like to see the business continue to grow? Yes, but you have to grow very slowly so that you can grow in a controlled rate. If that means we don't grow for a very long time, then that's fine, because as long as we're profitable, it's okay. And so we'll just continue to look for talent, and as we find talent, we'll bring them in and train them and grow that way, slowly. If you want to maintain high quality work while expanding, don't expand too quickly. You also have to have KPIs, like making sure that you don't have to go back to jobs multiple times to make sure that the service you provide is, number one, gonna pass all tests, and number two, to you as the business owner's standard. So, grow really slow. Make sure the guys who come in know what your expectation is and hit those marks before you try to bring in more folks, because once you're bringing in more folks and let them have full reign of what they're going out and doing, you can very quickly lose control of the service that you guys are delivering. So have KPIs, have good management that's below you to be sure that jobs are performed the way you want them, and don't grow too fast. So to start a dirt work business or land clearing or hardscape, you don't need any debt to start. If you can't start by renting equipment, you're going to be in a challenging position. You need someone probably to rent that equipment for you. Number one, if you're starting a business, we don't recommend going and buying equipment anyway. You really need to build a solid several month book of business out before you think about buying equipment. You should really be renting anyways. And to do so, you don't have to carry any debt at all. We didn't have any debt for the several years starting our business. We rented for a long time. If you can't rent equipment, I would try to find someone that can help you. Surely you got someone who, you prepay for equipment, and they'll rent it for you.
Going to the gym's the best thing though, because number one, you should do something for your health every single day, or at least 5 to 6 days a week. And I like gyms. Even if it wasn't healthy for me, I'd probably still do it, because I can just go put my headphones in and be by myself, and not take work calls. And I think it's one of the best ways to relieve stress possible. Marketing demolition services other than Google Ads, I would recommend trying to get with local government agencies, because typically that's the majority of demolition is done through either commercial stuff or local government agencies. There's not a lot of residential or one-off property owners who are looking for demolition services. So like the DOT, if they're putting in a new road, they're going to demolish a lot of homes. Typically a lot of city and counties, municipalities have quarterly budgets to demolish dilapidated homes and stuff like that. Depending on your state, they actually have a dilapidated structures grant, which can be millions of dollars in removing dilapidated structures. So if you are specializing in demolition services, I would seek out companies that are looking for RFPs and stuff like that, requests for bids. And then also insurance. Insurance companies are paying out for like structure fires, storm damages, stuff like that. And those folks will be looking for demolition contractors. So like your Google ads, Facebook ads, that's kind of targeting the residential side. So there's a very small amount of lead flow there. I'd look for different areas. What is the hardest part of business, as well as what is the most rewarding part of business? And I think the answer is the same for both questions, and that's people. People can make your business very, very easy or very, very difficult. And I don't necessarily just mean employees. I mean customers, contractors, vendors, subs, but then also, working with those folks and helping them achieve their goals is just as rewarding as anything you can do in business. So people are the good and bad of business. And I guess we need to leave soon. That was probably like an hour. If you're gonna post anything on any social media platform, even your marketing, you're susceptible to all that BS, and you're typically gonna get more of that than you are the positive.
comments and stuff like that. So you just gotta know right out the gate, posting for the world to see and have access to comment and saying whatever they want, you're gonna get a lot of negative BS that comes through. On the other side of that coin, there is a lot of positives that we get. You know, it's every single day someone's sending us a DM or comment and telling us how we've helped them in their business with a piece of advice that we share on here, or showing how something's done that they can go and find. And you know, one of those makes up 10,000 negative comments, and that's the whole point of us doing this, is if we can save someone a couple bucks and headache in the future by showing some of the mistakes that we have made or are making, then you know, it's totally worth it. So I don't care about the negative stuff. You know, you just gotta have thick skin if you're gonna be on social media. You get that question a lot. People ask, hey, how did social media change your business? And as far as lead flow goes, almost none at all. We very rarely get a lead from any of our social media, and in the scheme of things, you know, we have a very vast reach. If we get 10 leads and someone's just starting, they're probably gonna get none. You gotta know that going in, like, you're not really doing this for lead generation. It's really to build a brand. There may be a lead source somewhere else, and people are gonna, you know, search us up, and when they see that we have, you know, a great online presence and we have a big reach and a big following, it builds trust with people, and so it makes a sale a little bit easier, I would say, but it doesn't do anything for lead generation almost. Here in North Carolina, it's a one-party state, so as long as somebody knows that you're filming, you don't technically have to have consent. We do ask all of our employees to sign a consent form or photo release form, but when we show up, you know, Riley's there with me, she has a camera, I introduce her. Some people ask what the camera's for, and we say social media or YouTube or marketing, and usually after about 30 seconds, people just forget the camera's there. So, God, anywho, back to the questions. Someone asks how we find such great help, and we have struggles just like anybody else with finding good help. I mean, you know, we could hire 20 more guys right now if we could find them, but we do have great guys, the guys that are with us today. I say this all the time, but I think it just goes back to having great culture and showing that off on social media, and, you know, coupling that with a good brand. You know, people can see you and you get exposure and pay folks well. And if you do have an online presence and a brand online, and you then get to attract folks from different areas, different states, and not just in, you know, your hometown. I mean, most of these guys that work for us now are not from the city that we live in. They've moved to work with us, but yeah, that's because of social media and building a brand online. We spend very little on marketing for jobs. We have the lady behind the camera, our in-house marketing manager. We focus on just building an online brand. It's very top of mind for us to always be presenting that brand well, you know, having our trucks labeled, the guys in shirts, yard signs everywhere, business cards being handed out, and, you know, that brand carrying through. We don't do a lot of stuff that a lot of guys are probably looking at doing or paying a marketing agency to do right now, like Google ads and Facebook ads and lead generation services. We basically just to focus on building and continuing to hold a great brand. How long does it take you to get from zero to where we are today, which is $4 million a year? We've been, you know, higher than that, less than that, and I mean, that's really a crazy question, because it's all dependent on the systems and people that you have. I mean, and you know, when you say where you already are today, I'm assuming you just mean gross profit, but you know, a lot of that number is bullshit. You know, there's a lot of guys who have insane gross profit numbers, but at the end of the day, you know, what they make may be complete garbage. So, you know, don't always just gauge what someone's doing on a gross volume. If I was starting my construction business today, There's lots of things that I would do differently than what I did in the beginning. When we started this, we just relied on going out and producing as much work as fast as possible, and it was very much just chaos, and I can't even say controlled chaos, because we just went out and worked as hard as we could. We knew we had money coming in, but we didn't know what we were keeping. And so number one is implementing some softwares to know your numbers, and number two is having systems so that when you go out and you perform a job, you know you're profitable. So there's lots of that stuff that's working on the business and not working in the business that I would have focused on much earlier on, when you can do that in a lot smaller environment, before you just explode and then have all kinds of stuff going on, and now you're trying to turn this big massive ship around. So focusing on that stuff early on is critical. You know, some jobs require that extra set of hands, but you may not be keeping them busy full time because you're not kind of at that point yet where you may be able to work someone 40 hours. There's a couple alternatives where, like, you know, we regularly get DMs for folks who are doing internships that are looking for a few hours, or local programs that are trying to get folks back into the workforce, or even someone who's kind of at the retirement age but wants to stay busy and looking for a few hours of work here and there. Very hard to get someone that's like middle-aged, that's, you know, has a family relying on them to go and produce money. You know, it's hard to find someone like that part-time, but I try to find someone part-time in the meantime that can come in as needed to help on some of them jobs where you got maybe a little more labor, or you need a third operator or something. There's a lot of reasons why I focused on doing site work instead of building. You guys have heard me, you know, explain the emotion thing a ton of times with building. Just don't love the emotion part of it, but we've done other things other than just building. I've owned other businesses, and I thought, you know, if I ever get to a point in business where I just can't find any help and I'm getting older, like, what can I do that I can continue to do as I age that's not going to break my back? And I mean, sitting in these machines now are made so nice. I mean, they have heated and cooled massaging seats, Bluetooth. This is a pretty easy gig, and it's very rewarding. I like very much doing everything in the dirt world and clearing and demo, and we just like kids with Tonka toys that have grew up. What do we have for investments? My primary investment is real estate, and that's for lots of reasons. I've never studied the stock market a whole lot, so something that I don't understand very, very well, I don't like to get into. I understand how it works, but I don't watch it enough, I think, to be savvy enough with it. Real estate, I know almost every aspect of. Ground up, developing raw land, having single family homes and the upkeep necessary, or remodeling or building or multifamily. And real estate, I get to drive by and see the tangible asset if I want to. You know, there's lots of different strategies, but housing is always going to be a need. We like commercial spaces. People are always going to want, you know, businesses. So real estate is our number one investment strategy.
I don't know, because his comes from the top.
So fortunately, we have never had any employees, knock on wood, seriously injured on the job. Everyone just assumes that it's just like a huge hazardous place, but we are extremely cautious about how we operate and how things are flowing on the job. You'll see in a lot of our videos, like, we may have several machines on the job, but everyone is extremely aware where everybody's at. The most serious injuries we've ever had is myself, like an idiot, was using a side grinder above my head one time, flew out of my hand and cut my arm up pretty bad. We had a mechanic one time, was working a little bit too fast and was trying to clean out some debris from inside of a chipper that got stopped up on a job, and reached his hand in and moved it a little too fast. And the knives on a chipper, when sharpened correctly, are extremely sharp and dangerous, and he just barely brushed it and it cut his arm pretty bad. I mean, his hand. Young kid one time backing up just a regular Chevy 2500 truck and was apparently paying no attention at all and rolled the truck off the side of a bank and totaled our truck. Fortunately, he was okay, just shaken up and scared. Had a tree climber one time, had a top handle saw above his head, and a big gust of wind blew and just nicked his arm barely with the chain, and he had to go get a couple stitches. But that's basically it. A couple broken bones, scars, stitches. That's it. The best time to hire office staff or admin, you gotta value your time. A lot of people do this time block worksheet thing where every 15 minutes of the day they're writing down exactly what it is that they're doing in those 15-minute time blocks. And you know, you need to kind of delegate some of those tasks out. So if you could hire someone to come in and work full-time by seeing all those 15-minute time blocks that you could delegate out to an office manager or maybe even an assistant, and your time can then be billed out to go and do something different that you know, you can pay someone to do that, but then you can go and bill your time doing something different to produce more money. Then that's when you need to start looking at, is it worth it for me to hire somebody to do these tasks? All right, guys, we have got to 99 and some change thousand subscribers. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. Hopefully by the time this video is posted, we have made it there. If you have not subscribed yet, though, because there's lots of you guys that regularly watch the channel and comment and engage on the channel but are not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe so we can for sure reach 100,000. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure you share the channel. But most importantly, we wanted to thank you guys all for subscribing to get us to this point. We designed this channel, you know, to help build a brand, but it has done really well because we just kind of show what we do throughout the day and share, you know, business advice on how we're doing things and what has worked and what has not worked for us. And we want to be able to continue to do that. And so we need feedback from you guys on what type of advice or what type of content you guys want to see on the day-to-day of running a business. We also want to do some more collaborations like we did a few months ago with Taylor White at Ken White Construction. And we could do those with all kinds of different people, but ultimately, who do you guys want to see us do that with? So we need you guys to put in the comments what you want to see and who you want to see those collabs with. Thank you again very much for subscribing. If you have not subscribed, make sure you do, because we are going to be on a hard mission to take down 1 million subs.